Welcome to Working Progress. This is the podcast where we dive into strategies for success and journey towards progress. Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about and misunderstood elements of success, team building. What does it really take to build a team that doesn't just function, but thrives? And how can tools like behavioral assessments help leaders unlock the full potential of their people? Our guest today is Bobby Tyning. He is the Vice President of Creative here at TTI Success Insights. With over 20 years at TTI, Bobby brings a deep understanding how assessments like DISC or Talent Insights can shape not just teams, but entire workplace cultures. He's seen firsthand how the right insights used the right way can shift team dynamics, improve communication, and build alignment that lasts. So whether you're leading a team, hiring your first employee, or reevaluating your leadership approach, Bobby's perspective is full of practical wisdom and real-world experience. So let's get into it. Bobby, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Shauna. You gave me quite the billing there. I hope I live up to it.
I have no doubt you will. So tell us a little bit about your background and the work you are passionate about today at TTI.
Sure. I started at TTI many moons ago. Actually, 2001. That's how long. I'm going to age myself out here. I consider myself not just at TTI, but in general, as far as a career, I'm a designer, I'm an editor, I'm also a manager of people. Starting at TTI, I was a one-man graphic design department for a number of years. And as the company grew, my responsibilities grew and my team grew. And now today, here it is that I have, it's like, where did the time go? But I also have this whole really great team that essentially functions. It kind of grew into being an in-house agency for the most part that handles not just marketing communications, but anything around the company that needs to get created resource-wise. So we have a number of designers. We have a web designer. We have some top videographers on the team that are helping out today. And we even have some UI and UX people. I also contribute to marketing and comms and strategy as part of the executive team. As far as work that I'm really passionate about right now, it's just a really exciting time. There's just so much going on and it's all moving so very fast. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's kind of like my passion's kind of all over the place. Yeah. But at the same time, what really keeps me grounded is working with people. Like I enjoy the sort of the parts in between work that kind of make the work worth it, if that makes sense.
Of course.
So I'm really just passionate about those connections.
Okay, well, let's talk about that basic. And what does team building really mean to you? And why is it more critical today than ever before?
So it's kind of a textbook answer, but team building it's purposely building or it's purposely selecting skilled individuals to create a highly functional, cooperative, collaborative team that will successfully meet a goal. And that kind of sounds like I said, it's kind of textbook. Kind of sounds like an NBA draft description or something like that. As far as why it's critical today, more and more, everyone's looking to do more. Everyone's looking to be more efficient and more productive. And that's really how you get that efficiency is by creating a highly effective team that kind of knows what's going on. We move very fast here at TTI. Yes. So it's important that as a group, we can balance each other out. And I think everyone on the team has a specialty that sort of contributes to the greater good of everything that we do.
Okay. So is it because of those specialties that everybody is currently doing? Is that what makes it a high-performing team versus maybe just a functioning team or a team that just gets by on the day-to-day?
Part of it's the specialty, sure. I think a good way to think about that is a team that's just getting by to me. So let's kind of define both. Yeah. A team that's just getting by to me is really just checking a box. They may have some success, but they may not know how they arrived at that success. They're maybe just completing tasks for the sake of doing it. But are they doing it the right way? Okay. And then can that be repeatable? Yes. Are they able to take on new projects with similar success? And then I guess at the end of the day, do they even care about each other? They care that they did these things, or are they just going home because they're just punching a clock,
Yep.
that kind of thing. With a highly functional, high-performing team, they're not just going to check that box. They're also going to lean on each other and trust each other through a sort of like, because they're all sort of placed properly, they're going to naturally develop processes that play to their strengths and diminish their weaknesses. I think a highly performing team is going to be more collaborative and in sync with each other,
Okay.
Which I think then leads to them being faster and more efficient. There's the movie Frozen, the Disney movie. There's a part where they say we finish each other's sandwiches instead of sentences.
Yes.
And I think a high performing team is more likely to anticipate each other's needs and adapt accordingly. I think they're more likely to go above and beyond the scope of a project because they are going to care about it and care about each other more too, about the experience of getting that done.
Okay. So they work well together, and when they kind of they win together, and then if they have different areas, they just let it go, like Frozen?
Maybe a little bit. I do think there's like when you're all sort of in sync in that way, you kind of develop a responsibility to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're just checking a box, you don't really care if the person that's next in the process is going to have a good experience or not. And I think with a high performing team, you're more likely to actually like, I'm going to make sure this is as far as I can take it, and make sure the next person is also set up for success, depending on whatever process you're following. But I think that's really a big indicator of whether or not your team's high performing is if they care.
Okay. So tell me, how can behavioral assessments be used as a foundation for building a high performing team?
So when you apply an assessment to a team, you quickly see all their areas of strength as well as potential areas for improvement. Every individual is different. And when you can match people together who, through their skills and sensibilities, are able to balance each other out, you end up with a highly effective team. Mm-hmm. Assessments are sort of like a report card. You get a picture of what people are good at and what they need to work on more. And when, like I was just saying, when the whole team is assessed, you get to see if there's any gaps. If you have too many leaders and not enough doers, you get a much clearer idea of what a team is capable of or what may be in the way of their success.
Okay. So in your experience, how do assessments change the way a leader can manage or coach the team?
Obviously, you can use the assessment, that first initial assessment, you can use that as a baseline. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great place to start. It gets more interesting to me when people are assessed over time and you can go back and sort of then make predictions. You can kind of see where this person's headed and you can say, hey, wait a minute, this person's probably, someone we can give more responsibility to, or maybe we can give them some direct reports. They can grow them in that area. I think that's where the assessments come in. You really get to know like how people prefer to be communicated to, what people's working styles are. Some people are lone wolves and that's great. But as far as a team, you need people that are looking to coordinate and collaborate with each other.
Yep. Agreed. So do you have a real life example of how using the assessments have helped solve a team dynamic issue or have helped unlock that potential that you were talking about?
This is real world, but I don't want to. There's a little sensitivity around naming individuals or delving into specifics. But one of my favorite tools that we have here is to look at everyone on a team in regards to a Success Insights wheel.
Okay.
And for those of you who may not know, a Success Insights wheel will let people. It illustrates natural and adaptive behaviors through the DISC model. So in the past, for example, we would assess a whole leadership team. Mm-hmm. And very often leaders are very driven individuals and they're what we call a high D or a D dominant individual. And there have been times where you would assess a leadership team, and they are all in that D area, the sort of top right of the wheel. And that's great, more power to them, but that's also very, very dictatorial. That's not gonna, that doesn't allow for the people who actually have to execute on the work, or the people who have to kind of analyze the data of the work and make sure you're headed in the right direction, things like that. If you have a group of all high Ds, then who's coordinating?
Yes.
a ship can have many people steering it, but it's not going to go anywhere unless there's also someone pulling up the anchor.
Yes.
There's also someone plotting the navigation, and hopefully it'll be a short voyage if there's no one making sure everyone is fed. So in a team setting, we all have a part to play, and assessments help us do that better together.
Okay. So with your team specifically, what have you seen along the years with that style insights wheel? Are you all in one corner? Are you a well-balanced team?
There have been times where we've been better balanced, I'll say. One thing that kind of sticks with me, that comes up, every time I sort of get a performance evaluation is like, I don't like project management. I like doing the work, but I've also got the experience to where I can dictate that work.
Yes.
But luckily, I have people on my team who are more detail oriented, who have a higher C score than I have, and they will help get that project work done. I mean, as long as it's part of their job responsibilities, I'm not saying to just force that on people. But as people move up in as a team leader or some sort of management, middle management, they take on those roles, and it allows me to graciously give that to them because it's not my favorite thing to do. But that's something, looking at the wheel, you notice that there's no one here to actually handle this part. Who's the promoter here?
Yes.
Who's the analyzer? And it's important, I think, to get that snapshot, to take a look at it and realize where you're at.
Of course. So how can leaders use the assessment data, not just once, but as part of that ongoing team development?
So I just said the word snapshot, and assessments are very much a snapshot of time.
Yes.
Some of them, like the DISC assessment, the individual who takes a DISC assessment will likely have the same pattern unless they experience a significant or traumatic event. Other assessments, like total driving forces, will shift intensity based on new experiences that individual has, or maybe new priorities, like what if they became a parent, or even personal growth. What if they're looking to advance themselves and take on more in life and in work. And since we never stop growing, it's something that you can repeatedly revisit to see what's going on. So like I said earlier, obviously the first time an assessment is administered, it can act as a baseline. A manager can always use that report to kind of act as a touchstone. To say, let's go back and see where you're at today versus then. Let's see if you're kind of following the same course, or if you're delving off into uncharted waters, to use my metaphor from earlier.
Absolutely.
I think it's really cool to be able to look at that data and say, oh, this project's coming up, this person would be great at it because we've kind of looked at this and they've proven themselves. We know that they are capable of this. They might not know it themselves, but here we are looking at the data and seeing their performance, and kind of, it makes us that much more confident in giving them more to do and giving them more responsibility.
Absolutely. So Bobby, because you have been with TTI for such a long time, have you seen your own assessment change and shift through?
My DISC scores have been, the pattern at least, has been highly consistent throughout the years. It has shifted, up and down here and there, but for the most part, untouched. Same pattern. My natural and adapted are also, that's one of the things, I don't adapt much in life. I'm pretty much who I am. But at work, under stress, that D will go up and down depending on what I have to do. That C will go up and down depending on what I have to do. My I pretty much stays where it's at. But you know how that is.
Well, so what are some of the other factors that leaders should consider when selecting a new team member beyond the assessment?
Sure. So obviously, when you've got a role coming up that you need to hire for, there's a need for that role. So of course, it's not just the assessment data. It's does this individual have the skills needed to perform? I think especially with my team, and to steal from, I think it's Steve Jobs who said that if Apple is the Navy, then we're the pirates or something. At least his little division of it was. I've been in the past, we were doing some work with my team and what's one of those things that your team has in common with each other? And we came up with was at the time was gang mentality, which was very negative.
Okay.
But we now call that tribal, a tribal.
Okay, that's a better picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the fit is really important, that cultural fit.
Okay.
I've definitely worked with people who may be really skilled and great at their job, but at the same time, maybe they're kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how great you are at something if no one wants to work with you.
True.
And every place is different. Even every so you have like a whole organization kind of has a culture, but there's also little subcultures. Every team has its own culture.
Yes.
And if you're hiring for a specific team, you have this responsibility to make sure that person's going to succeed at that team, and you want to make sure that they're a good fit. It's also just as important that all the established employees have a good feel for that person too.
Yes.
I think it's almost cruel to just throw somebody in and with no preparation and no thought to that. I think that's where misalignments happen.
Absolutely.
And even think of like keeping everything in harmony. What a terrible way to screw that up. You just drop somebody in with like no practice or preparation. It's just so irresponsible.
So what do you think is more important when you hire? Is it the fit, or are you more concerned about the skill level of somebody? Or to your point, what is that balance? Because it's so hard when you have an initial interview with somebody. You're looking at their resume and you're, okay, these are the skills. And you only have a small amount of time with them to realize if they fit. So what is your experience with that?
So I think it's a balance, but I think fit is slightly more important.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because I think skills and processes can be learned. There's the talent can't, I don't think, be learned as much as a skill can.
Okay.
And there's probably some debate on whether or not something is a skill or something's a talent.
Of course.
But like I said earlier, if that fit isn't there, then it doesn't matter. The skills don't matter as much. I also think that if you're a bad cultural fit, like you're going to be miserable. Like you're just, everyone kind of has their place and they have to find it. And if they just don't have that, then they're not happy with their job. That means they're not going to be a great teammate, which means their work isn't going to be as good. And that means that you are leaving money on the table. You're not going to be as successful as you could be had you had a better hire to begin with. And it's a disservice to that person too.
Yeah.
You have to kind of stick up for yourself through hiring. You have to make sure you're getting what you want from it. An interview is just as much for the individual to the company as it is from the company to the individual.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more on that one. So once you have built your team, how do you keep that high performing edge over time? It's hard. So what do you do?
It's I used to think it was easy, but it's really not. A manager's job is to clear the way. Make sure your team has what they need to accomplish its goals, whether that's equipment, software, learning, better communication, content, KPIs, a voice, whatever it is. It's important that a manager continues to do that to support their team to the best of their ability. To me, a team stays high performing by striving.
Okay.
And not just resting on their laurels. It's definitely through adapting to different situations, by gaining skills and experiences like that, including professional development. It's like you can always be better at what you do. And I think that is like an attitude you have to have, a positive attitude to actually want to improve yourself continuously. And you have to be open and receptive to change.
Okay.
It makes me think of right now, AI is this huge issue for people. It's being widely adopted, but also like, especially in the design community, it's very distrusted because it's putting illustrators out of work or what have you. I think in the future, a team that is high functioning won't be if they don't learn how to use AI to their own benefit.
Okay.
It's just one of those skills. As the world changes, you have to stay sharp. You have to learn. I've never seen a high performing team who learned something once and just stayed there. They're always looking to like, oh, how can we use that? How can we bring this in? I saw this great article last night and I shared it with everybody. You can tell when people are disengaged when there's like none of that, when there's no one sharing, there's no one trying to like give you feedback or any sort of like possibility of around, could we do this better? Or, hey, can we learn from this? If anything, that's probably a really big indicator that you've got an issue, is that there's silence.
Yes. Well, so what's one myth about the assessments or team building that you would like to bust today?
So I hear this a lot, especially when I've been involved in hiring. And even when I talk to people who don't quite know what I do, because I think it's hard to understand at times,
Yeah.
people are always like, oh, I took a bad assessment or I failed it. And I always cringe a little bit because like there are no right or wrong answers to the assessment. You might be a better match to like a job benchmark, but you're not going to fail it. You know what I mean? Like
No.
it's you. It's literally an output of you and how you answer the statements. Even with a benchmark, that's potentially subjective because that's due to the SMEs who set up the benchmark.
Of course.
So even that, like to hold yourself to that, that just means you weren't a good fit for the role. But there's no like right or wrong in assessments. Like it's just you. And either you're a good fit or you're not. I mean, it's hard to take it. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of when people are looking for a job, it's very personal to them.
Yes.
And people take rejection in different ways. But that's a myth I'd like to no, that you don't fail it. It just wasn't right.
Okay.
You know?
I like that. Well, last question. What's the most important takeaway for leaders who want to build those high-performing, engaged teams?
So I kind of touched upon this throughout our conversation, but I think a high performing team doesn't happen by accident. It's purposely built.
Okay.
I think it's important to aim for collaboration, to look at the goals you're trying to achieve, look who you have working for you, and when hiring, determine what kind of person you need to fill the gaps and contribute to the established strengths of the team you already have.
Okay.
I think that's the big takeaway, is that you have to do this on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's continuous. It's not just something you do one time and forget about it. You're always kind of checking it and making sure it's on the right track.
Beautiful. Well, that brings us to the end of another Working Progress episode. If there's one thing that we hope you take away from today, it's that team building isn't a one and done activity. It's an ongoing, intentional process. Assessments can offer powerful insights, but it's what you do with that information, how you coach, how you communicate, and how you lead that creates the real impact. A big thank you to Bobby today for joining us and sharing his 2 decades of wisdom and perspective. We're grateful for your insights and the reminder that people are always at the heart of progress. So if you found today's episode valuable, we'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or just share the episode with a colleague or fellow leader. Your support helps us continue bringing those impactful conversations to life. And lastly, building a high-performing team takes more than just filling the seats. It takes curiosity, clarity, and a commitment to helping people bring their best selves to work every day. And when you do that well, the results speak for themselves. As always, thank you for listening. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep making progress. Take care, everyone.